How Russia-Ukraine War 2022 started. The question of how Russia-Ukraine War 2022 started was a hot topic among experts. President Putin has been rushing to revise the post-Cold War international order and change Russia's role in the world. His actions in Ukraine and elsewhere are viewed by many as a reckless, self-destructive act. There is no clear answer for how this conflict began, but it appears to be a defining moment in the future of the country. The events of 2021-2022 are part of a larger conflict between neighboring states that has its roots in the Euromaidan protests in Ukraine. In March of that year, Russia annexed Crimea and Sevastopol. It justified this move by citing a referendum. It should be noted that most countries did not recognize the Crimean referendum as lawful. Since then, military actions have been taking place between the Ukrainian government and pro-Russian separatists. In January of 2022, Russian troops blew up a natural gas pipeline near Kharkiv, a city in eastern Ukraine. It's estimated that 240 civilians died in the attack. According to the UN's High Commissioner for Human Rights, fighting for Ukraine has killed 64 people and spoiled houses and critical infrastructure. The BBC and Telegram messaging platform verified that Russian soldiers drove into Kharkiv and fired missiles, which triggered an escalating conflict. On February 27, 2022, Nikopol News published an article claiming that a Japanese cargo ship had been hit by a Russian missile off the Ukrainian coast. The Chechen leader claimed that Russian forces had been deployed to the Ukraine, and the Russians were sending reinforcements to their border towns. The resulting chaos led to a heightened tension in the region and eventually to the war. The conflict could last for years and a full-scale invasion of the country could take place. A year ago, a Russian journalist wrote an article in the New York Post that detailed the conflict. She was also quoted by other sources as saying, "The attacks on Ukraine are a result of a political conflict. In the end, it is all a matter of if and when. This is a very serious and threatening war and the people involved are urged to defend their country. It is not clear whether Russia will formally enter the Ukraine or not. The conflict is a result of a wider conflict between the two neighboring states." The events of the 2021-2022 conflict have their roots in the Euromaidan protests in Ukraine in 2013 and the Russian annexed Crimea and Sevastopol from Ukraine. The referendum was not recognized as lawful, and the war has been accompanied by military action since then. Russia's intention to invade Ukraine is well known. The Ukrainian government has a long history of conflict and is not averse to military confrontation. However, the Russians have a long history of aggression and invading other countries. They have repeatedly violated international norms and continue to threaten the United States. As the war progresses, the war is likely to escalate and become worse. In 2022, Ukraine's parliament voted to call Russia an aggressor state. The move sparked a diplomatic crisis and triggered the start of the conflict. The Ukrainian government's parliament passed a law that called Moscow an aggressor state. The Russians and the Ukrainian military both began to negotiate. The Ukrainian government and the opposition joined forces in February, but their actions in turn forced the Russians to withdraw from Ukraine. The Russians have already started military action in Ukraine. The news reports that Belarusian troops have been crossing the border between Ukraine and Russia are not far behind. Meanwhile, Lithuania has been accusing Russian jets of being too close to their country. Both sides have denied any wrongdoing, but the air raids are starting. The Ukrainian government is urging its citizens to evacuate the country. The conflict in Ukraine is a serious concern for the United States, as the United States and Russia are both major powers in the region. A lack of trust in the region is a major cause of concern. While it is possible for the two countries to work through this conflict, there is no guarantee that the talks will lead to an end. As a result, the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine will remain in Lviv, as it is in the Russian-occupied territory.